Alright, so now I'm doing the priming section. So I've already glued on my cotton canvas, covered that in a different video. I'm using an Artist acrylic gesso, essentially a white paint. It's designed specifically as an undercoat. You can go with the gesso, or you can go with just a white latex paint. Gives you a nice good base coat, gets into the fabric a bit so that we have a smoother painting surface when you actually go to put your heraldry or your design on it. So I've already done some of it here. I'm using a really cheap paintbrush, or keep shredding bristles. And of course the ubiquitous pet hair, which gets onto every project if you have pets. I've got 3 cats, so their fur gets everywhere. And I just spread it out, get it right up to the edge. If you cut it short of the edge and then put your leather edging around and find that your paint's short, it's kind of depressing. So it's easiest just to go right to the edge and you don't have to worry about it. This first coat, you're really going to have to work into the fabric, especially if you have a very coarse weave fabric. And just work it in. Okay, so now I've done a couple coats of the gesso. I think I've got 3 on here now, just because the fabric was a little rough. But you can gauge that for yourself depending on how much of the fabric texture you want showing. What I'm going to do now is the priming. So I'm going to prime it with a white. So this is just Artist quality acrylic. I like acrylic. It dries as a plastic, so it's got a little bit of give to it. And what I'm going to do for the prime coat is I've taken my acrylic and I've put a little bit of water in it. I'm going to water it down, and that's going to get a little better coverage, getting in all the little nooks and crannies of the fabric. And acrylic's water soluble, so that's nice and easy. It also makes it easy for the cleanup. So just brush it out, make sure you get a nice even coat. Again, if you look at it in the light, you can see where you've been and where you haven't. And again, picking out the stray bristles. Or you can just use a better quality brush than I am. This is my old war shield. It's one of the first shields I put the canvas on as a treatment. It's held up pretty good. I've got a few tears and a repair where I just glued down a bit of a tear. This shield's, I'm not sure, 20 or 25 years old now. Still has the old edging on it. We used to have a 3/4 or 1 inch shield edging requirement. That changed quite a while ago, so it gives you an idea how old this shield is. It's held up pretty good. It's gone through Pennsic, some local melees, thrown into the back of the car. So I'm pretty happy with how well it's held up over the years. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay out my field. So I've got a red and white division on my field. So I'm going to lay that out now. I'm going to start doing the color application. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my center. So I've measured out my width. It's 24 inches across, so there's 12 is the center. And I want my point of my division to come in just above where the straight side starts my curvature. That's about 13 inches down. So I've measured down 13 inches on both sides. And there's 13 inches in the center if I line up my center there with my point. So if I come from there to there, pull that straight, and there's my center. So that's where I want all my points to come to. So I've already got 2 coats of white down, so I'm going to be laying out the red first. So I'm going to use painter's tape, and I'm just going to mask out where my lines go. So it's going to go from that corner, pull it tight to there, and I'm going to continue that on as straight as I can get it to the far side. I'm not going to push that down too hard just yet. And I'm going to come back the other direction. I'm going to do the same thing. Now you notice because the red is going to be in this area, I've put the painter tape on the outside. So I'll do the same thing over here. Come here to that center. Lay it down. Make sure you don't get any wrinkles because the paint will get underneath the tape. And then you're going to have to fix that. And again, pull it across tape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across the center. Again, covering the white side. So from that center mark to that center mark. And then across to this one. Now I've got some overlapping here, so I'm going to need to cut that little triangle out. You can use X-Acto knives. What I've got is it's a little tiny ceramic knife. And I like that because I want to cut the tape, but I don't want to cut my canvas. So with this little tip, it's a little easier to control. So I'm just going to bring it along gently there into that corner. And I'm following the line from the tape that's underneath it. And then just carefully peel that up. And there we go. So that's going to be the bottom of my red line. And I'm going to do the same thing in these corners, only now the red's going to be going in this section. Now I've got to cut that corner out and that corner out. Very gently. Just cut the tape. Might have to come back and get a section that you missed. Again, being careful that you're only cutting the tape and not the fabric underneath. It's a little fussy, but it's worth it. we go. Okay, so I'm going to ready to do my red. So this is Artist Acrylic. It's a pretty dark cadmium deep red. But I want to do some fancy stuff on top of it, so I want a darker red than I've been using before. And I'll put it in my little bucket. It's less likely to have any kind of splashing. Now for this coat, I'm not going to water it down. I'm just going to go straight. I don't want to have the paint too heavy when I get to the tape, just to try to avoid any anything getting over it. So I'll work from the center to the line. So I kind of messed up here because I thought I had the camera on video and it wasn't. It was on still. So I took a photo instead of my video. But what I've done is put on my second coat of red, and then I pulled off the painter's tape very carefully to make sure that I didn't get any of the paint that's on the tape on the white or on me. The other thing I did before I applied the second coat is I added a second band of the painter's tape. Instead of just having one layer, I had two, just to make sure I didn't get any overbrushing on my white sections. So that's a little annoying, but overall the paint job came out pretty good, so I'm happy. And here we got some detail. See how clean that corner came out? Pretty happy with that. So that little bit of roughness along on the line, that'll get covered, because the last thing I'll do is run a black line around everything as an outline. That'll really highlight it. So I got it all painted. I didn't do any video of the fancy bits. It's just a little tedious because it takes a while. But I've done the bores in a natural style rather than just black. And I've done scroll work. It's a gold scroll work with white highlights, and a silver scroll work with gray shadows just to pop them up a little bit. And then I've given it 2 coats of spar varnish. Now spar varnish has a yellow tinge, which is why it's not white anymore. I like it like this. It gives it sort of an old antique look. I like that. Some people don't. If you'd rather not have it, then use a clear varnish. But that gives a nice protection to the outer surface, makes it easier to clean, and protects all your fancy paint work.